So hello everyone, welcome to this alumni interview. I've got here Bronwyn Duncan with me today. She's a graduate of Maths and Physics, a recent one, just graduated last year. Now she's working at the Bureau of Meteorology. So Bronwyn, tell me a little bit about your degree, what degree and what specialisation you chose and your path to getting a job at the Bureau of Meteorology.
Awesome. So hi, I'm Bronwyn. I did an undergraduate double degree in Maths and Physics at UQ. So I did a Bachelor of Mathematics, Bachelor of Science dual, majoring in physics. And I graduated last year in December, and I applied to be a graduate meteorologist with the Bureau of Meteorology. It's about a 9-month application process, and they take graduates from all sorts of science disciplines, but you need to be able to have done up to second year physical sciences and mathematics to be able to get in, because everything that we do is based on all of those sciences that you study at university.
And so if it took like 9 months for the application to go through, that means you had to apply in your final year.
Yes, exactly. So a lot of the graduate programs across not only with the Bureau of Meteorology, but across a lot of different organizations, you actually have to start applying in your final year of what you're studying. So I was applying in my final year last year from about March for a lot of different roles to see as to where I could get in.
So students who are in their second or even third year should be looking now towards what job they're going to get and what things they should be applying for.
Exactly. And it's a case of you should start looking as to what's available, who's accepting your sort of majors, and starting to really get that network going. Because then when you're getting into your final year, you do want to be starting to apply, because they do accept graduates, but all those programs are generally finished, so their selection processes, and they're hiring by about November.
What are your core responsibilities in your current job, and what sort of skills from your degree have you used in your current job?
Yeah. So at the moment, I'm actually still in training to be a meteorologist. So the whole thing is that I graduated with a degree in maths and physics, knowing nothing about the weather, surprisingly. So actually learning how to take all of those skills and those undergraduate abilities and applying them to what my job is going to be. So I'm currently doing a graduate diploma through the Bureau, which is the only way that you can get into meteorology within Australia. And a lot of the skills that I learned, particularly like the study techniques, as well as just the logical thinking and the reasoning that goes into a science degree, has been really significantly important in what I'm doing now. Because what I'm doing is I'm sort of going, well, I'm a scientist, I understand how the science is working. How do I actually apply that to the situation that I'm going to be doing? So, for instance, when you're doing weather forecasting, you're looking across a whole heap of different scientific tools, from satellite imagery to model data to radars to observations to theoretical models as to what's happening in the atmosphere. And you're taking all the science that you know and you're trying to apply that to get a physical understanding as to what's actually going to come across in the weather. So at the moment, my core duty is actually studying, which is really cool, I think, as a graduate program. But at the end of this, I'm going to be going into what's called operational meteorology, which is essentially forecasting on a day-to-day basis. So I'd be starting my shift with what's called a chart discussion. I come in, I have a discussion as to what's going on in the weather across the country or whatever my region of interest is at the moment. And then from there, go into the day as to what sort of forecasts I'm putting out. If I'm working aviation, I'm putting out forecasts so pilots know where they can and can't fly, and all those sorts of different things. But throughout my degree, I think the key skills there were definitely those logical reasonings, understanding how to problem solve, and when things don't always make sense, understanding where to go look for information. Because that's, I think, the biggest thing when you get into the workforce. When you graduate, you think you need to know everything. And it's a case of it's okay to go, I'm not entirely certain. Let me have a look and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
I suppose these employers, not just Bureau of Meteorology, but a lot of employees in industry looking for physics and maths graduates aren't necessarily looking for these graduates because of what they know, but more their problem-solving ability and their ability to learn.
Exactly. So it's if you know how to go about solving something you've never seen before, being able to take what you do know and applying it to that is really the core skill there. And the other big thing is communicating that. So when you're going through your degree, you learn how to do different communication styles. So talking to other scientists versus talking to the general public about science.
Reports and even communicating it to the layman's perspective, so the general.
Exactly. And it's really that being able to take what you know. Taking what you know is really important, because if you don't know what you're talking about, you're not going to come across as credible. But in order to actually do the job that I'm doing, to be able to go and be an applied scientist, you need to have those problem solving skills, and you need to be able to communicate what you've got. Because if you can't communicate it, no one can use it.
Exactly. So they're not always looking just for someone with straight sevens. They want someone who has decent grades but can communicate.
Exactly.
So what point in your degree did you decide to, did you think that you would end up at the Bureau of Meteorology, or did you just apply for a bunch of different grad jobs and that's the one that took you the fastest?
Yeah, so I actually didn't even know you could be a meteorologist until my final year of uni, which was, I think, pretty interesting. I'd gone through a lot of physics, and I'd always seen you do research, you do this sort of science, these are the sorts of jobs. I didn't even know that you could do anything related to the environment. So I remember walking through careers fair on my last year and going past the bureau stall, and this lady said, "Oh, you do maths and physics? Yeah, no, you can come work for us." And it was sort of this moment that sparked with me being able to, I've always definitely been more of a communicator. I love understanding science, but actually applying it to the real world. And so when I was talking to her, I went, that's what I want to do.
So I suppose a lot of students don't really know how applicable their maths and physics degree might be.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of physics students just think it's research or high school teaching, and those are the two options. But there really are this broader range of jobs in industry that don't get a lot of attention from students.
Exactly. And I wish I'd known about it sooner. I would have got so much more pumped during my degree. But I think when I realized that's what I wanted to do, I started looking as to, okay, how do I find out information about it and going about it? But I also did apply for just about every job you could possibly get going out of uni, because I wanted to make sure I had work going into the next bit. But there are a surprising number of graduate roles that are looking for maths and physics students. You can work in data analytics, is a huge field, and they're also willing to employ physicists because of the problem solving skills that you learn during your degree. So there are lots of things out there.
Do you think you'll stay in that role for long? Do you like that job and you think that's what you want to do?
Yes, definitely. So at the moment I'm still busy training, but when I get out operationally, it's something that I think I'm going to be in for a really long time. The people that I work with are lovely. The things you can do are sort of endless. You talk to people who've been there for 30, 40 years, and all the different pathways you can take, and it's constantly growing and learning and expanding. And that's sort of the exciting thing about the role.